Lamborghini Super Trofeo. It's round 4 of the 2022 season from the Big Easy in New Orleans, just outside New Orleans at NOLA Motorsports Park. 2.7-mile ribbon of asphalt that is going to challenge these Lamborghini Super Trofeo North American Series drivers today. Welcome, everyone. I'm Brian Till, along with Jeremy Shaw. We'll have all the action around this 2.7-mile course, 16 corners, and a full field of Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2s. Jeremy?
Yeah, it is. And yesterday was round 3 of the championship. Tremendous racing, pretty tricky conditions. The track was wet when they started out, well, drying very, very rapidly. And an early pit stop was the key for Nelson Piquet Jr. He came in way before everybody else. By the time the mandatory pit stops were completed, he was way ahead of everybody else, and he won the race. It was a tremendous race to watch, however.
And this racetrack really has a little bit of everything. Some slow speed sections. The S is very high speed. That's where the Lamborghini Huracan safety car is leading the field right now. Good passing zones down in turn 1, heavy braking. You can get it done in turn 3, maybe turn 13, certainly against another class car. But if it's someone in your own class, difficult around this racetrack to set it up. It may take laps to get a pass accomplished. Jeremy, I said full field. You talked about the racing yesterday being great. Take us through the grid for today.
Yeah, you talked about classes. There are 4 classes, but not of car. Everybody is running the same Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. But there's 4 categories of drivers. We have pro drivers, we have pro-AMs, we have AMs, and we have LB Cup for those with lesser experience. With 31 cars in all. Starting at the back, Justin Price elected not to race yesterday after a crash on Friday, but he is racing today in car number 21. Moving forward through the field, number 34 is Rogelio Perugia. Alongside him is Scott Schmidt in car number 38. Then Tom Tate in car number 64. John Hennessy in car number 33. Blade Stewart, the leader of a Pro-Am Championship, is in car number 14. 25th on the grid is the pole sitter in LB Cup. That is Ophir Levy in car number 13. Moving forward again, Bart Collins in car number 4. Cesar Baccarella in car number 45. Wesley Slimp in car number 9, Randy Solari in car number 3. Charlie Martin will start car number 54 alongside Nico Riga in car number 48. Caleb Bacon in car number 7, Shehan Chandrasoma in car number 19, that distinctive gold car. Claude Segneretti in car number 51 and Cam Aliabadi will share row 8 on the grid. Sebastian Carrazzo in car number 47, Tom Long in car number 25. Jordan O'Brien, making his debut yesterday, very impressively, has qualified on the pole in the AM category in car number 99 for IMSA Motorsports. He will start in the 12th position. Alongside him, a former series champion, Eduardo Piscopo in car number 50. Jordan Missick in car number 53 and Luke Berkeley in car number 23 will make up row 5. Billy Johnson in car number 71 will start 8th. Had a drive-through penalty yesterday, having run very, very well, and had led the race for a little while. Patrick Liddy will start car number 8 from the 7th position. Row 3 is Dario Capitanio in car number 2 and Loris Spinelli in car number 88. 4th on the grid is the fastest of the Pro-Am cars in qualifying, car number 46 for Precision Performance Motorsports. That is John Capestro Dubets. Alongside him, yesterday's winner for IMSA Motorsports in car number 30 is Nelson Piquet Jr. On to the front row, Eduardo Liberati in car number 27 for Dream Racing Motorsports, and on the pole position, his first pole in the series, but came into this weekend in championship contention, car number 1 for Wayne Taylor Racing, that is Kyle Marcelli.
Jeremy, that number 1 entry from Wayne Taylor Racing has been spectacular all season long. They came into the season with a strong initial showing at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and they have not disappointed their team since then. They won round 1, second in round 2, and they had a good run here yesterday to 5th. So now everyone lined up, lights out, and it should be quite a battle in turn 1 on this first lap. Marcelli in that blue and black Prestige Performance Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2 alongside the 27. And things are about to heat up, as if they're not hot enough here in New Orleans. They're about to get really hot. Marcelli bringing the field very slowly through turns 15 and 16. Now they'll come onto the straightaway, and it is a long straight here. You get a long, long run down to turn 1, and then very heavy braking, well over 150 miles an hour into the brake zone of turn 1. When you come through turn 16 at speed picking up now, the green flag flies. racing in round 4 at NOLA. Down to turn 1. Marcelli, Liberati, side by side. It is even Steven down into the brake zone. Through there, can he hang on? Can Liberati stay with him? No, he can't. Marcelli breaks free. And now Liberati under pressure.
But these cars sound sensational and they look fantastic as well. 31 cars in this field. That was a beautifully clean start. Carl Marcelli has the lead at the start of the race. Yesterday, that Wayne Taylor racing team kind of mistimed their pit stop. They stayed out way too long on the wet weather tyres and dropped down to 5th place as a result. There's a good move there in the early stages from Luis Spinelli in that very distinctive Italian liveried red, white and green car for Torino Racing by D Motorsports, moving up into, I think he got as high as 2nd place. He started back in 5th.
Yes, Spinelli indeed up to 2nd place, and a problem. That's the 23 Luke Berkeley around in the braking zone for turn 4, I believe. I don't know if he had help there or perhaps just dropped the wheel at the entry. Teenager trying to get that car refired and back underway, and I would say he had help, Jeremy, looking at the 53.
There's some damage there. Yeah, exactly right on that number 53 car. That's the Jordan Missig will be starting that car today. Aidan Yoder started it yesterday. 2 youngsters, but it looked like there might have been a bit of contact there to send Luke Berkeley off the road at the end of the first lap, coming towards a completion at the end of the first lap. It is the pole sitter Carl Marcelli who leads just from Loris Spinelli.
But Spinelli absolutely magic aboard one of these Lamborghini Huracans, and we saw it all last year. I think you said, Jeremy, in the program yesterday, he had the pole position or the fastest lap every race weekend last year. He's showing why right now. But the interesting thing is what we saw yesterday is tire conservation is key here at NOLA. Luke Berkeley still sits stranded on the side of the road. Tire conservation is key. This racetrack has been ground a couple of times to eliminate bumps. The management here doing an exceptional job, as is Spinelli as he moves alongside Marcelli. He's going to take over the point as they head down to turn 5. But you've got to conserve tires, Jeremy, because that grinding really creates a abrasive surface and it can really punish these Pirelli tires. Marcelli's slow.
Yeah, no, the full course caution is out because of that spun car. And I think Spinelli completed that pass. He was kind of going for the pass as the full course caution came out, but I think he completed it after the yellow had been shown. I think he'll probably have to give that position back again as they settle down now to safety car speeds. Safety car will be out at the end of this lap. But that was awfully tight there. But yeah, he's on a charge in the early stages, is Spinelli. And you rightly say they fastest lap in every single race last year. That's just pretty remarkable. That doesn't happen very often, that one driver should get the fastest lap in every single race. There isn't a championship point for that, but good bragging rights, I would say.
You like to show that to all your friends. So racing halted just a bit here while safety crews attend to Luke Berkeley, who is off the racetrack after, we believe, contact with another car. So this will give everybody a chance to settle down and conserve a little bit from a tire standpoint. As we were saying, this racetrack can be very aggressive on the tires. And we saw that yesterday, Jeremy, when we saw Nelson Piquet out in front and he just settled on a pace. Other cars behind him attacked and were 2 and 3 seconds a lap faster at times. But Piquet, with his experience, just stayed calm. He let them charge up and they would get to him, and then they would have used up their tires and they fell back in the order again, or they had a penalty. And so Piquet with that victory, and it was particularly well managed. Speaking of well managed, a look again at how Spinelli inside and gets through and takes the lead.
Yeah, but I think he was concentrating so much on making the pass, he didn't see that. I think the yellow flags were already out there on that corner. But he was a little bit unfortunate, because certainly Carl Marcelli made a little bit of a mistake. He carried a bit too much speed into that corner, washed out wide a little bit, and Spinelli dives up the inside. But let's have one more look at this and watch for the marshal's post. Yeah, there seems to be I didn't
see it.
There was a flash of yellow, definitely, on the right-hand side of that marshal's post.
Yeah.
But whether Spinelli was already past that at the time is the question mark, and that was difficult to see from that camera angle.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and that's the problem when the race officials have to look at that. It's like, when did we call it? Was he inside of a station? Was he past the station? We'll have to see if there's any recourse from the officials on that. But so far, I don't see any messages from race control telling him to put that position back. I think it'd be really hard to penalize for somebody for a pass under the yellow when you and I, at least, looking in the background at that corner station, you'll notice in that shot, you see the corner worker clearly displaying 2 yellow flags. Perhaps they were on the way out, Jeremy, and that's why we saw that little flash of yellow. But I think they were past that corner station before the flags were well and truly shown.
Could be. I mean, I was watching the scoring tower, and it seemed to be yellow before he made the pass, but it was awfully close, and there is no question in my mind that Marcelli did make a slight mistake going into that corner. It's a little bit wide to the pass, whether or not is a caution. Here's Marcelli now pulling alongside Spinelli, so he clearly thinks that pass was made under yellow. We have to see whether Spinelli will cede that position.
Oh, it just shows. It just shows the intensity of it all. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. And Spinelli closing up right on the back of the Lamborghini Huracan safety car saying, no way, buddy, I had you before the flag is out. But I guarantee you there is a conversation going on right now as to who belongs where. Kyle Marcelli thinks the position is his, and Spinelli obviously in disagreement.
Yeah, so that we'll have to wait and see. It will be race control that makes the final call on that one. Another note, by the way, Patrick Liddy appears to have had a problem on that first lap as well in car number 8. That's the car he shares with former 2-time AM champion Damon Oakey. So he does not appear to be in this race. The other guy that had a problem on that first lap was John Castro Dubets in car number 46 for Precision Performance Motorsports. Brilliant run yesterday.
Yeah.
His fastest lap of the race, by the way, was 1,000 slower than Loris Spinelli, who got his streak back on track again yesterday. But a tremendous run yesterday by John Castro Dubets to win the Pro-Am class. But it looks like he's had a problem. It was into the pits at the end of the first lap, and I think now there's a lap down to the field.
So our leader in Pro-Am, Dario Capitano, has survived the first lap aboard his number 2 Dream Racing Motorsport entry. And, you know, you talk to drivers all the time, and it really is about surviving turn 1, lap 1, and then kind of going racing. So Capitano certainly done that. And then O'Brien leads in AM, and Charlie Martin leads in the 54 in LB Cup for Dream Racing. So there are the other 3 class leaders besides Kyle Marcelli and Laura Spinelli. Now, looking at timing and scoring, Jeremy, it's showing Marcelli as the leader.
Well, yeah, that shows up. That when they crossed the line, he was ahead by maybe 3 inches because he was pulling alongside Spinelli as it crossed the line.
We'll have to see how they restart it, and it should restart this time by.
Yeah, you mentioned the class leaders there. Charlie Martin, who's doing a super job in the 19th position in car number 54. She is running for Dream Racing Motorsport and leads the LB Cup. And in AM, Gordon O'Brien, what a story he is. First ever racing these cars. Basically all he's done before is a little bit of karting when he was a youth, but he didn't do much of that because he was a by his reckoning, a little bit overweight, so he was outclassed there. All else he's done is legends, and he can go back to green.
And what's important was Laura Spinelli led the field back to green, so the officials deemed that the pass was completed before the full course caution came out. So now back to racing here in round 4 of the 2022 season, Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Championship. And Marcelli, how do you do this, Jeremy? We saw it yesterday. You're trying to chase down the leader, but you use up too much getting there. So it really is a balancing act. And you think, well, this is only a 50-minute race. It should just be a sprint and go. High temperatures, abrasive track surface, and really good Pirelli tires underneath you. you can use them up. You can get rid of it too soon. We said yesterday it's like taking a pencil eraser and dragging it across a piece of sandpaper. The eraser a little bit soft, the surface a little bit abrasive, and it can really punish these tires. So that's what these drivers have to do. How fast can I go to have something at the end of the 50 minutes?
Yeah, that's certainly a factor for this series. Kind of the 99 of Jordan O'Brien, trying under pressure there from Tom Long in the Pro-Am car number 25. And just back to Jordan O'Brien again, he's a remarkable story. He's a driver coach these days out at Spring Mountain Resort in Pahrump, Nevada, originally from Yarmouth in Maine. And as I said, all he's done before is racing Legends cars. He's a 3-time world champion, however, in Legends. But what a leap it is to get into this IMSA Motorsports Lamborghini, and he's doing a fantastic job there, inside the top 10.
You know, interesting talking about the cars as Spinelli heads into turn 1 and Marcelli's going nowhere, but looks like the pressure from Liberati in the number 27 Dream Racing entry behind Marcelli is backed off just a little bit. Spinelli competing in another series here this weekend, and it's a Pirelli tire, but it's a different Pirelli tire, and you can run that tire a little bit differently with the rain that we had yesterday and then the drying conditions. You wonder if Loris is keeping in mind, hey, this is different than the other one. I can't drive it the same way. Is he on the right wavelength to get that number 88 to the checkered flag first? We'll have to wait and see. 53 still with that damage on the front. You would think that would slow this car down considerably down the straightaways. Just about 610 horsepower in a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. But Jeremy, even with 600 plus horsepower, you would think this would damage that 150 plus mile an hour top speed.
Yeah.
And the downforce.
Yeah, there's plenty of horsepower in these cars. I mean, they are beasts to drive, but a huge amount of fun. I mean, everybody gets out of these cars and there's a massive smile on their face. They're really cool cars. But we saw some fantastic racing yesterday, and in pretty tricky conditions. I mean, the track was pretty much dry for most of the race, but certainly in the beginning, there were quite a few damp spots out on the racetrack. But it was a remarkably clean race yesterday. Of course, it did finish under caution because Cesar Baccarella spun off the road with about 5 minutes to go to bring out the caution period. But other than that, it was a nice clean race. And with all these cars on the track, I think there are a lot of fears that it might turn out to be a bit of a demolition derby. Not the case at all.
Not the case at all. And really interesting to watch Missig be able to hold on to that 53, and just behind him, Piscopo. This is, we say, the Evo 2 chassis. The chassis underneath that beautiful Lamborghini Huracan bodywork is the same chassis they've run for the last couple of years. And rule stability is what makes this series so popular, and the popularity growing even more. But the Evo 2 package consists of new bodywork. The only thing bodywork-wise that you see that's the same as last year's version is the doors. Everything else is new aerodynamically, and a new braking system on this car, and a new control module helps that ABS as the 45 with a problem stranded on the side of the road. So it's just surprising to me that with that new aerodynamic package that everybody talks about, that Missig is able to maintain the pace that he's setting right now. We'll have to see if there's another full course caution to retrieve the 45.
Yeah, that's Cesar Baccarella again, I think, in that TR3 Motorsports entry. They come number 45. They won the AM class in one of the first races of the season. There was the yellow flag once again. Yes, indeed. So Cesar Baccarella from Parkland in Florida. Done quite a few NASCAR Xfinity races over the last several years. Had a 12th place finish at Daytona, which is, I think, was his best result. Also done a fair bit of Ferrari Challenge as well. So fairly experienced, but an error there for him, and that brings out the full course caution. So Loris Spinelli's lead, which was he stretched out to about 1.7 seconds on the previous lap, that down to nothing again. He's going to have to do all that work again if he's going to extend his lead. And there's probably about half the cars in this race are running with solo drivers, just singleton drivers, and a similar number running with 2 drivers per car. The top 2 cars on the grid on the race right now, Loris Spinelli and Carl Marcelli, they both will have co-drivers. Eduardo Liberati and Nelson Piquet, who are running 3rd and 4th, they're running solo in this race. But everybody has to make a mandatory pit stop there's anywhere from 20 minutes into this 15-minute race until 30 minutes into the race. So a 10-minute window, everybody has to make a pit stop, and there's a minimum pit stop time which they have to spend from the pit entry to the pit exit, and that minimum pit stop time is 93 seconds for the dual driver cars and 96 seconds for the singleton entries.
Wow, really slowed the field down here. I don't know if that's at the scene where they're trying to get the stricken car on the flatbed. Indeed it is. So just really using caution as they work through the incident area and try to get stricken car out of the way. But Jeremy, these full course cautions really are a blessing, I feel, for Laura Spinelli, really all of the drivers in the field, but for Spinelli, really most of all, he leapt out to that lead. This now gives him a chance to cool those Pirelli tires. He had about a second and a half. If he's got a good car underneath him and the balance remains the same, you would think that he would be confident in being able to do the same thing again. But these laps behind the safety car allow these drivers to cool these Pirelli tires, and then you get another short go at it again. Remember, as you just said, the pit stop window is there at 20 minutes into the race until 30 minutes into the race, or 30 minutes to go to 20 minutes to go in the race. That 10-minute window, you'll get a chance to cool the tires there. So these little fits and starts, while not great for the fans watching the race, probably good for the drivers being able to cool down those tires.
Yeah, for Spinelli, he was trying to pull out a bit of a lead. His co-driver in this race, Gianno Torino, just 18 years of age, doesn't have anything like the amount of experience as Loris Spinelli, so he's not quite as quick as Loris, whereas Kyle Marcelli's co-driver will be Danny Formal, the number 1 car. He is super fast and actually qualified on the grid yesterday. He had the pole position yesterday for the first race. So it's a help for those for the 2 driver cars, and particularly those that have fast co-drivers as well, to have this full course caution.
Brian Till, Jeremy Shaw with you. Round 3 of the 2022 season, actually round 4, I apologize. Round 4 of the 2022 season from NOLA Motorsports Park. Round 1 here yesterday. We saw great racing in really, really challenging conditions. The race started wet and ended in the dry, and it was a matter of strategy, tire management. When did you want the reins to come off? Nelson Piquet Jr. elected to pit early, remove those rain tires, go to slicks. And it was interesting, Jeremy, the delta, when he went back out there, the delta between his laps on slicks versus the fastest driver on rain tires was significant. And even though he lost considerable track position putting those tires on, he was able to claw that distance and more back. And consequently, when everybody else stopped, and then after the mandatory stop, Nelson Piquet Jr. was in the lead. Great strategy on the part of his team, and a lot of number crunching on the part of the engineers, I would assume.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was Nelson himself who made that call. He said, hey, look, the track's dry, I'm coming in. You better get ready for me. So they did, but it was a great teamwork there. But you're right. I mean, he was running 10, 12 seconds a lap faster than those who stayed out. And he was in 3 laps before anybody else made that decision. And there was another couple of drivers who wanted to come in, but were told not to by the team. They were hoping to wait until the mandatory pit stop, when they would be time to change those tires without losing nearly as much time on the racetrack because of that minimum pit stop time. But it didn't work out for them. It did work out for Nelson Piquet, who took full advantage of that, and he was just flying. It was a brilliantly judged victory by the series veteran. Well, not a series veteran in overall terms. He's driven everything. Nelson Piquet is a former Formula E champion. He's raced in Formula One. You name it, he's won it. And yesterday he ticked a box because he hadn't previously won a Lamborghini Super Trofeo race. He has now.
Round 4 of the season underway, and 4 weekends to go once we leave the Big Easy. Watkins Glen up next, the 24th through the 26th of June. And then in August 5th through 7th, Road America. and then followed by VIR, Virginia International Raceway in August. 3 iconic tracks, and then the World Championships, and the championships will be decided Portimao, Portugal in November. So 4 more rounds once we leave New Orleans, and we are coming to the pit window in 2 seconds, Jeremy. It will be open.
It would be open, but because the underfull course caution, it has actually been delayed by the race officials. So the pit stop window will not open until we go back to green. Otherwise it would just be chaos in the pit lane. Everybody would come in together because you lose so much less track time under yellow than you would if you come in under green flag conditions. So the pits are closed during the caution periods, and the pit stop window will be extended just a little bit afterwards at the end of the window. But it is not yet open for pit stops yet.
Look at the rest of the season, Jeremy. We talk about Watkins Glen, Road America, VAR, and then the World Finals in Portugal. Is there one of those weekends that you're looking more forward to?
I'm looking forward to going to Portimao because I hear it's a fabulous place.
You're just looking forward to traveling.
The great thing about this series is it races at some classic race venues. It really does. So any of them are well worth watching. And these cars are spectacular to watch and to listen to as well. I love the growl of those V10 engines.
Well, and you think about the circuits that they compete on, and as you said, the next 3 in a row, just iconic North American road courses. And you look at the Glen, you look at Road America, VIR, they were all created in the heyday of sports car racing, kind of the renaissance of sports car racing in the United States. And they all have such rich and storied history. And they're all very fast and flowing racetracks, perfectly suited for this Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo.
Yeah, they really are. And these cars, I mean, they'll shine on any sort of racetrack, but on those sort of venues, yeah. And that's, I think, one of the attractions why there's so many drivers joining these fields as well, because of the caliber of the venues that they compete at.
Well, and we used to say that Lamborghini Super Trofeo was not a very well-subscribed series, but over the last 3 or 4 years, Chris Ward, who heads up this program in North America, has built something really special. And it's now a destination for a lot of these drivers. Very slow onto the front straightaway. Spinelli leads the field down very slowly, now jumps on it in the restart zone. He is on it, green flag flies, racing again. And I would imagine the next time by, the pit window will open. Typically, you need to take the green on the racetrack before the window opens. We'll see if that happens. Spinelli leading down to turn 1. Marcelli not able to do anything with it. Good racing just behind.
Yes, and the pit window has now been open, so you're absolutely right, Brian. So next time around, if you want to come into the pits, you can, and you have, well, the better part of 10 minutes in which to make that mandatory pit stop during this race. Interesting,
Jordan Missig in that metallic blue number 53 that we saw the body damage on earlier. I think that piece may have come off the car. It wasn't up in the air, and look at this, 3 wide through turn 4.
Yeah, that was Caleb Bacon being scored up there. He won yesterday in the AM class in that 47 Motorsports car number 7. Tremendous drive by Caleb. He's just a youngster, a spring chicken. There's a few spring chickens in this race. Just 17 years of age is Caleb. He won the race with AJ Muss, who's a former Olympic snowboarder, and he was taking advantage of some slippery conditions in the early stages. But it looked like Caleb was being swallowed up there. He's now running 3rd position, or was running 3rd position in the AM class this morning. I would expect Super John, Brian, I would expect Spinelli not to come in this time around. I think he will extend his window as long as possible. We'll see how many other drivers do come on to pit lane when we get around to completion of what will be the 11th lap of this race.
Yeah, I would think so. As you said, if the faster driver is in the car right now, especially with the pit window being pushed a little bit, that's going to give the faster driver more time in the car overall. And if there's a little bit larger delta to driver number 2, he's not going to be in the car as long. So expect the drivers that are quicker in the pairing to stay in the cars a little bit longer. I think you're exactly right, Jeremy.
Yeah, there's quite a few cars coming in right now, that's for sure. And all the way up and down the field. So there's Kyle Marcelli will hand over that number 1 car to Danny Formal. Had a great run yesterday, led a little bit of the race. And there is the Lamborghini of Miami car, car number 34. The 2 Mexicans, Rogelio Perusquia, will be handing over that car to Rodrigo Valles for the second part of the race. And here up at the sharp end, the car was running in the second position. Kyle Marcelli handing over the car to the Costa Rican, very impressive young man, is Danny Formal.
And when we say the Delta or the faster driver in the car stays in a little bit longer, you would think from a strategic standpoint, look, in these Pro Series entries where both of these drivers are very quick, you'll go to a racetrack where driver 1 is faster than driver 2, and next weekend it's a track where 2 is faster than 1. So it's one of those deals where you just kind of have to look at it. And in any time you have a multi-driver format in sports car racing, you got to take the selfishness and put it aside and say, what's better for the team? How are we going to achieve overall victory? Set my ego aside and just say, okay, my teammate is faster than me this weekend. We're going to let them spend more time in the car.
Yeah, here come the pit stoppers then out of the pits just as Loris Spinelli comes past a bit of a lap down, and there's a spin for Canada 51. That was Claude Seguletti who was running second in AM at the moment, the Brazilian driver, but he's spun that around. He was running in the 7th position, and he was battling with Caleb Bacon again. A little bit of contact between those two. And I think Claude just kind of turned in the corner and didn't realize that Caleb Bacon was already alongside him into that braking area.
Yeah, it wasn't a lunge by Bacon in the number 7 to put the car there at the last minute. The nose of the car was well alongside the rear axle for Signoretti. I just, like you said, I just don't think he knew he was there. As you squeeze down, you always have to be careful about that. You always tell drivers, hey, you can try to close the door on somebody, and even if they're in the wrong, you got to understand this. If you're on the outside, if you're the car on the outside, chances are you're the one that's going to go for a ride. And even though the other driver may get penalized, it doesn't help you if you're stuck out in the gravel.
Through that. And I just think Spinelli, he's charging along
over the bumps there in the brake zone, man.
Torino, of course. Sorry, Spinelli. Forget. They have not. That car's not yet made a pit, so he wanted to try and get that past that traffic there. It does take a lap or two to get the tires back up to temperature again after the pit stop. So he's charging on there, and the more cars he can put between himself and the pursuer, which was Nelson Piquet, who now ducks into the pits in that second place, car number 30. He is driving this race solo, is Piquet. Spinelli will be handing the car over to Gianno Torino, originally from South Africa, who's now in Florida.
We saw Danny Formal in the number 1 Prestige Performance Wayne Taylor Racing entry. They can just not shake Liberati in the 27 just behind him. That 127 order has been that way throughout and remains that way even after the stop. So good stuff. And Spinelli trying, like you said, Jeremy, trying to get some clean laps so he can extend the lead that he had, and that's going to help his teammate when he hands over to Torino.
Yeah, it is. And car number 47 is that car has made a pit stop. Brian Ortiz is now at the wheel of car number 47. That's one of the Precision Performance Motorsports entries, running in the Pro-Am class. And he's had a lot of success in that car over the years, last year in particular, Brian Ortiz, and he's taken over from Sebastian Carrazzo for the second portion of this race.
Saw the driver change taking place on the number 7, and I can tell you, Jeremy, these cars are comfortable to sit in. And I assume comfortable to race. I've not had the fortune of actually having to drive one, getting to drive one in anger, but they're comfortable to sit in. They are not comfortable to get in. So I'll tell you that. Once you're in, you're good, but getting in is challenging. I mean, obviously it is a beautiful sports car, low slung, low windows and doors, and squeezing in. And granted, I'm not as young and pliable as I used to be, but getting in and out of one quickly takes some athletic ability or a chiropractor.
Yeah, good point. Loris Spinelli has now just brought the number 88 car into the pit lane. That hands the lead to Dario Capitano in car number 2. He'll be sharing that Dream Racing Motorsport entry with Alan Greenberg, who's making his debut this weekend. And side by side he goes there with car number 25. That's Tom Long.
And so Long being shown third in the series, but he's on the racetrack. He's made his stop. Capitano has not. So Tom would love to get in front of him. And again, that's putting more delta between you and the two once it hits. Yeah. But you don't risk it and throw it away. And Long, one of the smarter drivers, one of the more experienced drivers, a driver coach, really heady guy, and he knows what's at stake. So he'll make sure that they have a car to finish with. He and Ashton Harrison have been absolutely spectacular this season. I think she put in the drives of her career at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in rounds 1 and 2.
Through that, and the reason I hesitated when I was talking a moment or two ago was because I think that must be Ashton Harrison at the wheel right now, because as you said, they had made their pit stop. It hasn't shown up on the scoring yet, so they obviously forgot to change the driver plug. There's a plug from the helmet of each driver that goes into the middle of the car. And if they hadn't changed that, then it doesn't show up on the timing and scoring. But that would be Ashton Harrison out the wheel of that car at the moment. So right now it's still Dario Capitano who leads in car number 2, and the pit stop window will be closing pretty darn soon. So he better get into that car into the pits before that window closes. And
it's into the pits. It's not out of the pit. So if you're watching here at the racetrack or you're watching at home, you've got to get to the pit lane. You've got to break the timing beam on the way into the pit lane before the window is closed. It's not exiting the pits. So so you've got to look at it and look at the lap times that you're running and say, okay, can I do one more? Can I not? And what you risk with one more, Jeremy, is it going full course caution. And now all of a sudden you have to slow on the racetrack because of the caution. And now that lap time that you were betting on isn't there, and you missed the window.
Yeah, and we've now got, 18 minutes remaining in this race. The pit stop opening was delayed, but you've got to be running awfully tight here, Capitano. I'm not quite sure whether the pits have been closed yet. I don't think they have. I mean, the pits are not physically closed. They're just closed in terms of if you don't meet the window, then you will have to serve a drive-through penalty. But here we are with the pit stops completed now for everybody except Dario Capitano, who still leads. Gianni Torino still leads in that red, white and green car for Torino Racing by D Motorsports, car number 88. But right behind him is Danny Formal in that Wayne Taylor Racing car number 1.
I was going to say there is a but in there for sure, because it was only 3/4 of a second between Torino and Formal last time by the line, and I think it's less than that now. And you talked about it. It's not outright speed, it's experience. And experience, like I was saying, in managing the car to the end of the race. Danny Formal with more experience than young Gianno Torino. Torino exceptionally fast, but a little bit less experienced in this car. So very good race car driver, has a brilliant future ahead of him. He has all the tools that he needs to keep moving forward, but we'll see if Formal's experience will give him the leg up as we approach 16 minutes to go from here at NOLA in round 4.
Yeah, and last year was the debut season for Gianni Torino, and he was really, really impressive. He started off in the AM category, won that class 4 times in the first 6 races, and because of his success, because of his pace, he was up to Pro-Am halfway through the season, which didn't go down terribly well, but hey, look, he was completely outclassing the other AM guys, so he really should have looked at that as a feather in his cap, rather than being upset about it. But now he's in the pro class with Loris Spinelli, and he's doing a super job there to hold that lead at the moment. There's still 16 minutes remaining in the race.
Man, these cars are absolutely spectacular. When Formal came through turn 1 that time over the bumps, you could see the right front wheel, the unweighted front wheel, completely off the ground. That's how stiffly sprung and suspended this Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2 is. And I believe Torino already getting defensive It was really an odd line he took through 15 and 16 last time, Jeremy, and kind of an odd place to do it. He stayed down in the middle of the racetrack, kind of blocking Formal, but he's not going to get a block on him this time. Formal is through. And like I said, I really felt like Torino's car beginning to give up on him a little bit. He was trying to be defensive through 15 and 16, but I think that he doesn't have a very good car underneath him. It may be one that's going away, perhaps Spinelli using up too much of it. But this is turn 5 into turn 6. Formal underneath Torino and just clears him easily.
Yeah. That was a great pass by Danny Formal there. Incisive down to the inside, brakes super late into the corner. Really nothing Torino could do about that. But Jono doesn't have, like I said before, he doesn't quite have the pace of Spinelli. And that's to be understood because Spinelli's been driving these cars for years and years and years. But it's a good heads-up driving there by Danny. You saw Formal was faster. Last lap time for the race leader was a 1:39.4, the fastest lap of the race. Was set by his co-driver Maurice Spinelli earlier on at a 1:36.4. So he's not quite as quick, but you don't throw it away. But he didn't. It was a good sensible lead there by Torino. But now, of course, he's got not only Eduardo Liberati in calendar 27 on his tail, but also that man from yesterday, Nelson Piquet Jr. in calendar 30. Got a 4-car battle for the lead, then a gap back to Brian Ortiz in calendar 47. For Precision Performance Motorsports in calendar 47, running in the 5th position. He's about 6 seconds back in 5th position. Leading now in the Pro-Am class after the pit stop for the number 2.
When we talked about 610 horsepower, think about Brian Ortiz, who is a former MX-5 Cup champion, a long way from an MX-5 Cup car to a Lamborghini Super Trofeo Huracan, Jeremy.
Like about an extra, 300 horsepower, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well over double that 100 horsepower in any case. And the MX-5 cars are not slow by any means.
No.
But they are a tremendous tool for learning, for learning racecraft, and it's a great stepping stone into many other series.
Danny Formal leads from NOLA. Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America action. Good battles behind. He's gotten past Jono Torino, but Torino now kind of falling into the grasp perhaps of Liberati and Nelson Piquet, who sit behind him. Brian Ortiz in the 47 leading in Pro-Am. Chandra Soma leading in his beautiful bright gold number 19 in the AM category from MCR Racing. He had a good show yesterday.
He did, yes, he did. A very impressive run by him. He's running inside the top 10 and, as you say, leading the AM class now by about 8 or 9 seconds now over David Starr, who was relieved in the number 48 car, Nico Riga, who drove the opening stint. Shehan Chandrasoma driving solo in that number 19 car for MCR Racing.
Well, the battle now is for second. It's a 3-car battle. We talked about Torino falling back in that red, white, and green, that Italian liveried number 88, Torino Racing by D Motorsports. And right now, Eduardo Liberati and Nelson Piquet Jr. right behind him, really beginning to heat things up as you see the number 1 blue and black from Wayne Taylor Prestige Performance pulling away. And now these Lamborghini Huracans into the brake zone of 13, a little bumpy there, try to keep it under control. We saw Laura Spinelli kind of bouncing through there just a few laps ago. You need to get the car straight off of 12, the end of the S's, get it settled before you get onto the brakes heavily. ABS working there into turn 13, kind of trying to help you keep that car steady under the bumps, but you come in there with tremendous speed. Then a right, left, 2 rights onto the front straightaway, well over 150 miles an hour as you get to the brake zone in turn 1.
Good heads up driving there by Torino. He's not being super defensive. He's just running his own race there. Got a little bit quicker on that last lap around at 1:38.9 for the second place car. Danny Formal certainly is pulling away in the lead of this race, but it's still an excellent run by Torino, and Liberati right there in 3rd position. And Nelson Piquet Jr. can do nothing about that pair ahead of him at the moment. farther back in the pack in the 16th position is Randy Solari. He's involved in a tremendous battle there in the middle of the field, and just moving ahead of him on the last lap was Richard Antonucci, who's taken over from Justin Price. Did not race this car yesterday, but started at the back in last position, in 31st place. Justin Price drove the opening stint. Richard Antonucci, who is the most experienced driver in this field and a multiple-time champion in these cars, up into inside the 14th position at the moment, and he's looking to do a lot better than that in that car number 21 before the end of this race.
AJ Muss now behind the wheel of the number 7, 47 Motorsports entry. We talked about him sharing that car with Caleb Bacon, and the Bacon name very well known in sports car racing, especially if you're a sports car historian. His grandfather, Al, quite the success, Jeremy.
Yeah, 4-time winner of the Rolex 24 at Daytona back in the days, back in the IMSA GTU days. Teams now, but yeah, great family legacy there. From that South Carolina family.
Man, that was close over the bumps. Yeah. Muss getting kind of pitched sideways almost into the car that was beside him. And for AJ Muss, think about this. I mean, a snowboarder, he's represented this country in the Olympics, but now racing cars. He runs a front-wheel drive car in one of the IMSA series. A lot less horsepower, and it drives with the wrong end compared to what he's in now. And while I know he loves what he's doing over there, stepping into one of these 600-plus horsepower Lamborghinis has to be a ball. I saw him get out of the car yesterday, huge smile on his face.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, everybody does get out of these cars with a massive smile on their face. They are so cool to drive, and there's been tremendous battles once again. That's car number 17, Cam Ali-Abadi, who has been, well, very, very impressive in the opening stages of the season. He had done 0 racing, none at all, before the first race of the season at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca a few weeks ago. He's running in the AM class. He'd certainly be eligible to run in LB Cup, but because of his pace, he is elected to run in the AM category, and he actually won the AM class in the second round at WeatherTech Raceway, and he had a 3rd place finish again yesterday. For somebody with so little experience, it's quite remarkable. What he does have, of course, is a fair amount of experience in sim racing, but sim racing to real racing sometimes correlates very, very well, and it certainly is for Cam Ali-Abadi.
So Danny Vermael leading in the pro category, Brian Ortiz in Pro-Am. That could be big for that team this weekend, coming into the weekend, or coming out of round 3, I should say, yesterday. Ortiz being shown in 3rd with his teammate Carrazzo. So right now they run in front of Ashton Harrison and Tom Long, who are 2nd in the championship. If it will finish this way, Ortiz and Carrazzo will close down a little bit on Ashton Harrison and Tom Long. They won't be able to leapfrog them if it ends this way, but this would be a good weekend for them. And in the pro category, Piscopo and Kuyala led after round 3 yesterday, only 4 points back, Danny Vermael and Kyle Marcelli. So you look at that in pro right now, and it could be a big, big day for Danny Vermael and Kyle Marcelli. They could take over the championship lead if it were to end this way, Jeremy.
Yeah, indeed, or regain the championship lead, because that's the car that won the first race of the season. Then they finished 2nd, both the number 1 car and the number 50 of Eduardo Piscopo and Patrick Kuyala. They each had a 1st and a 2nd from the opening race weekend of the season. And the difference was that the number 50 car had a pole position as well. That is worth a championship point. So that meant they came in here with a 1-point championship lead. That was an off there for, that was one of the Wayne Taylor cars, wasn't it?
I believe so. Saw AJ Muss. He's got his hand full of Tyler Hoffman, and we talked about Hoffman being a driver coach, manages track day operations, had a pole at Laguna in round 1, and he is all over the back of AJ Muss, the 7 and the 9, going at it, hammer and tongs. Got great battles around this racetrack, and that's one of the cool things about the 4 different classes. Speaking of great battles, the 27 Liberati all over the back and into the back of Yanni Torino, just in front of him, really punishing that under tray, and Nelson Piquet, the third in the train right there, going, if you two remove each other, I'll pick up 2 positions at the same time easily.
Yeah, and he might be thinking that might be his best, easiest way to pick up the position at this stage. We've got, what, just over 5.5 minutes remaining, just under 5.5 minutes remaining in this race. Eduardo Liberati in that Bitbull car for Dream Racing Motorsports. He's representing the Las Vegas dealership, and there is a dealership championship as part of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. The driver championship, of course, also for dealers and also for the teams at the same time, and all of them very closely matched.
We were talking about Tyler Hoffman and AJ Muss having a great go of it. Well, I wonder if that's part of the responsibility. No, I don't think it is. Number 3, no.
Nice clean pass.
Nice clean pass, and Hoffman just loses it on his own. Now, you may be thinking, but I thought these cars had traction control and ABS. Well, they do, but physics is physics, and I think for Hoffman, he got off there at the exit of 1, probably picked up some clag on his tires and tried to carry the speed on a decreased radius through turn 2, and it just wasn't going to happen with the debris that he had on his tires. Physics is physics at some point, Jeremy, and all the driver aids in the world aren't going to help you.
No, they're not. But it was certainly a nice try. It was a great pass, though, by
Solari.
Yeah, it was excellent effort by him. Up to the where is he now? In the 15th position is Solari.
Looking through the order, from all still out in front. Ortiz leads in Pro-Am. Chandra Sama in Am in an LB Cup. Fear Levy holds down the point there over Slade Stewart. Stewart has been spectacular, and it looks like his winning streak may be gone if Levy can stay there.
Yeah, and it was Levy who qualified on the pole position in the LB Cup class, I think, for this race. Did he? Yes, he did. Sharing that car with John Hirschberg. It should be John Hirschberg driving the car right now, I think. It's shown as Ophelia Levy, isn't it? But I think it's John Hirschberg probably driving it right now, and he's edging away from Slade Stewart.
Stewart with a 2-race win streak. He won round 2 at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca and race 1 here at NOLA yesterday. So he would love to get back to the top step of the podium, but probably more important for him, he's got a great record going so far this season and leads the championship, 2 pole positions, 2 wins. So, you collect the points that you can, Jeremy. If you finish second in a second place car, you won. If you finish second in a first place car, well, you didn't do your job. And if you crash in a second place car trying to get to the lead, well, you screwed up. So right now, Slade Stewart managing his championship, managing that Lamborghini Huracan that he's piloting today, and still has a great run going.
Great thing about this sport, it's black or white, isn't it? You either win or you screwed up, one of the two. Not the case. But if you throw it off the road while under no pressure for anybody, that would be an unforced error. But this battle continues for second, third, and fourth. And not only that, they've been joined now by the Pro-Am leader, that's Brian Ortiz, right with that battle as well in car number 47.
And what Ortiz needs his crew to tell him with 2 minutes to go is, where is Ashton Harrison? Because the 3 cars in front of him are not in his class, and he should not risk a thing to try to get by him. You'd look at that orange, yellow, and black, number 47, and look behind him. Try to find the red and black, number 25. Where is Ashton Harrison? If she's not in the picture, Ortiz needs to know that, because right now he holds the lead in class, and he just needs to hold on to that. Don't risk trying to get past a pro class car in front of you and risk throwing away the win.
Yeah, that would not be good, but then he's a racer. He's going to go as fast as he can. There is a white flag then for our race leader, Danny Formal. 1 lap to go on this little bit over 2.5 mile racetrack.
So Formal with a comfortable lead, 10 seconds, just over 10 seconds that last time by, and then that gaggle of cars down into turn 1. Johnny Torino in there, the 30 of Nelson Piquet Jr. Ortiz trying to be a part of it, and you don't do that. I think you've got to be more patient than that. I don't see Ashton Harrison anywhere in the picture behind him.
No, she's a long, long way back. But that did allow Patrick Kuyala to move up, I think, a position in car number 50. So he is part of that battle now for second, third, fourth, and fifth and sixth. So number 50, I think he just got past Ortiz. Yes, he did, in that Arrow Electronics car for the O'Gara Motorsport with Change Racing and US Racetronics. Bit of a mouthful, that team name these days. But look.
Oh, look at PK.
Liberati has made the move, hasn't he, to second place.
And PK trying to get around Giano Torino, and he's got traffic behind him and passed him. That was the 50 that's gotten through. Kuyala has gotten past PK, and now Torino goes around PK as well. There's contact.
Yeah, and I think, I wonder whether there might have been a bit of contact on Torino's car there, because they were trying to lap Slade Stewart, who was not really in the right place on the racetrack, I think. But that's the problem you have with lesser experienced drivers. That's why he's running an LB Cup, and the checkered flag is out.
Danny Formal, Kyle Marcelli, Wayne Taylor Racing, Prestige Performance. They'll take the victory. Round 4 of 22. Brian Ortiz wins in Pro-Am in the Big Easy, but it was far from easy. Challenging racetrack on the day. Ortiz takes the win there. Looking for, there it is, the beautiful number 19.
Yeah, very, very impressive from there. And Torino, really unfortunate for him, but he does finish across the line in 5th position. But a fine run by Shehan Chandrasoma here in that car number 19 to finish in the 9th position and win the AM category for MCR Racing.
First Lamborghini Super Trofeo victory for Chandrasoma, so they will be celebrating at MCR, and we're waiting for the decision in LB Cup. It's already been done. Ophir Levy has taken the checkered flag over Slade Stewart. He wins an LB Cup here at NOLA. Good stuff, but what happened on that final lap, Jeremy? What happened there in between turn 12 and turn 13?
Yeah, I mean, they were that whole group of cars. Liberati already got past into second position, but that whole group of cars came up right behind Slade Stewart there. And I wonder whether, let's have a look at the replay now and see if we can see what happened. I think that number 88 car had to check up just a little bit, and he was tapped from behind, I think, by Patrick Kuyala. Not on purpose, but I think the number 88 car just checked up a little bit, and the number 50 was right behind it, and Nelson Piquet nowhere to go. And he is a big loser there, because he was not able to continue in the race.
Wow, that is disappointing. And I think you're right. I think Slade Stewart, trying to get out of the way, he moved to the right to let the battle go by. And when Torino kind of checked up, because Torino was probably thinking, hey, I'm going to go inside him coming through here. He kind of checked up just a little bit, and Kuyala into the back of the 88. That turns him around. And as you said, nowhere to go for Nelson Piquet. This is going to be good in the championship, though, for Danny Formal and Kyle Marcelli.
Yeah, it certainly is. And by my reckoning, they will retake the championship lead here. It's been back and forth in all 4 races so far between the number 1 car and the number 50. But I reckon the number 1 car, the winners today, Kyle Marcelli and Danny Formal, will have 50 points to the 48 of Eduardo Piscopo and Patrick Kuyala, who made up 3 positions, 2 of them in class on that final lap to keep themselves in contention.
Great run here and a great debut for the series at NOLA. And this was kind of a last minute change, about 30 days to get things done in the series here after some changes in the schedule. And hats off to everybody here at NOLA Motorsports Park. They have been so accommodating. They worked so hard to get things ready for the debut of these series here this weekend, and they could not have been more accommodating. The facility in absolutely fantastic shape. Been 7 years since I'd been here, Jeremy, and what a different place.
Yeah, it's been a really, really good weekend for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. Tremendous racing, big field, and good, for the most part, clean, hard-fought racing. Just have a look quickly at the classes. Kyle Marcelli and Danny Formal will lead in the Pro category. In Pro-Am, 4 points, I reckon, between Tom Long and Ashton Harrison, and John Capestro de Betz and Bryson Liu, who finished back in the 5th position today, 51 points to 47. In AM, David Starb and Nico Rieger came into this weekend with the points lead, will lead with a points lead after a second place finish today, 43 points to the 40 of Kame Alibadi, who finished third, and Chandra Soma just 1 point behind with 39, the winner today in AM class. And in Lamborghini Cup, it is Slade Stewart who still leads with that second place finish today.
Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America, you got to see plenty of action from the Big Easy. And as you can see, it wasn't easy for everybody. Danny Formal, Kyle Marcelli, hard-fought victory, but they'll leave here with the taste of champagne and perhaps some good Cajun food in their bellies. Lamborghini Super Trofeo never disappoints. Up next, Watkins Glen in June. More iconic road courses for Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series. For Jeremy Shaw, I'm Brian Till. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you remain with us for the 4 weekends left in the championship hunt. It all ends up in Portugal in November. Make sure you're with us. We'll see you next time. So long, everyone.